Hello, good evening. Coming to you from South Central Nebraska. This is the channel Agronomy Blitz, accelerated insights for your agronomic advantage, the June 9th edition. Beautiful day today. Enjoyed some time in the field myself, and hope hope everybody was able to get in the field today. A little windy. Know a lot of post-emerge applications trying to happen, so tough to make that happen with the wind conditions today, but happy to have you with us. So let's jump right into this. Um, as always, as we've started the GDU updates, and we're looking, if you can't see this or you're on the road listening to this, we're looking at if we started planting the 20th of April for the state of Nebraska to date, and then if we started planting the 10th of May to date in the state of Nebraska. And I would tell you, not a lot of huge differences in this map. If I'm looking straight in Buffalo County at Kearney, where I reside in, if we planted the 20th of April, we're looking at about two growing degree units ahead. And then if we planted the 10th of May, we're about 28 behind. So, for the most part, in general, I would say as a state, we probably feel a little bit behind. And I would say that adds up to what I'm seeing in the field. A lot of anywhere from V3 up to V8 corn that is much shorter than we would anticipate it being this time of year. And I would say um, ugly colors, both corn and soybeans. So need some heat units behind this stuff to really make it pop. Similarly, if we go into this is a total precipitation rank by climate district map for the state of Nebraska. And I ran this for really the middle of April. There were probably some fields that were planted before that, but just for a generalization, the middle of April to date. And this is looking at total precipitation ranks by climate district. So simply meaning the higher the number is, the drier that district is. And this is ranked from going back to 1893 through 2025. And for my district, for South Central Nebraska, we're looking at the 98th driest year out of 133. So still in pretty darn dire need of some precipitation events happening and a pattern needing to form for this crop to really start to take off. We've had some wonderful events, which we're thankful for. Um, my hope is that it's the start of a trend and not the end. So, with that, let's go into corn growth and development. I didn't even change this slide for this week. Simply stating, corn's all over the place if you look at it, and I would tell you it's really deceptive if you're looking only from the road. You're probably going to guess the growth stage wrong because there's a lot of nodes being stacked on top of each other at a rapid pace. So I would tell you, especially when we're doing post-emerge applications here for herbicide, make sure we're going and doing the diligence of staging everything. And again, when we read those herbicide labels, it's really important. If they give you the growth stage and a height in inches, it's whatever happens first. It's not V8 or 30 inches, it's V8 or 30 inches. Whatever happens first, that's the cutoff. So if you have a V8 corn plant that's, you know, 20 inches tall, it's game over for whatever herbicide that is. So it's always good to remember those things. Um, Again, we're hitting grand growth for this stuff, and the reason I keep this slide is it's important to understand we're really setting those kernel rows per ear and building that ear factory. So what is that determination of yield going to be for our max is happening right now. So whether we're doing another nitrogen application, hitting it with a post-emerge chemistry or herbicide application with some fungicide, that's what's going on right now. And again, I think you're starting to see those brace roots really take over. That pale to lime green color go to a dark green and hit the band of nutrition that we put out there for this crop. It's a really complex slide that is coming at you with a lot of different information, but basically it's looking at what your herbicide product is and then the maximum corn height and or growth stage that it can be applied to. So I think it's really important to look at this and understand, obviously, hey, what are our max use timings for a lot of this chemistry that we're putting on this crop? Um, the other thing that I think it's important to understand or think about is, what has this crop been through already? It's seen a lot of wind, in some cases some sandblasting, and hasn't had the easiest stretch of life to begin life. Um, so there's a lot of times I think we have a sickly crop to begin with, and then we put a herbicide application on. We're asking that plant to metabolize a lot of different things, and sometimes it can come out of that looking not so hot. So it's really important to understand what we're putting on and how it impacts that plant overall. So just be mindful of that when we're looking at cutoff dates. Those cutoff dates are there for a reason. They can have implications on what that plant is going to be able to do from a reproductive standpoint, and can have implications on yield in some cases. So understand what you or your applicator is going to be using, and what those cutoff dates are. Because again, the reason I bring this up is there's a lot of fields out there this year that are very deceptive from the road. It may look like that corn plant is short, likely is, but make sure you're going out and doing the due diligence of grow staging it. Same slide from weeks prior. Again, don't get caught up in the fact that we're talking about 400 bushel corn here. More wrap your head around, when is the optimum use timing for a lot of these macro and secondary micronutrients being uptaken, and when are you applying them? So it's a good thing to think about. I think it's a gut check every year, and in some cases, really good to do a tissue sample as a progress report at some of these different time frames and growth stages in this crop's life of, am I giving it the nutrition it needs at the time it needs it? Am I equipped to do that? Am I applying the right products to do that? So, good things to think about. We talked about potassium last week. Again, nitrogen is going to get kicked off here in a big way as well. So, I think about um, the nitrogen use rate kicking up here significantly, going from, at V6, this study is looking at, at V6, corn plants uptaking 2.5% of its nitrogen. Then when it gets to V10, it's uptaking 14% of its nitrogen. So again, be thinking about that cognizantly of, when does this crop need the nutrition specifically, and could I do a better job of applying it at specific increments and growth stages. Soybeans, again, not a ton of change overall. I would say I'm still getting calls about yellow soybeans, and I'd say it goes straight along with the corn comments of getting root development and getting this crop to, metabolize multiple products, and herbicides can sometimes be really tricky business, especially if that crop and is in a spot with compaction. It's had obviously drought characteristics that it's been through, so it's been asked to deal with a lot up to this point, and Mother Nature hasn't thrown it a lot of help. So be mindful of that as we're upcoming with that. And again, similarly on the soybean side, just a chart going over, hey, of the popular chemistries. And again, this was work done by the University of Minnesota. Um, but what are the cutoff stages of those chemistries? Why are they important? Again, this goes back to having implications sometimes from a reproductive standpoint, leading to yield implications at the end of the year. Um, there's been certain chemistries I've seen, and again, we don't like applying anything if we can avoid it at flower or post flowering in a soybean plant. But the reality is sometimes it's necessary. Uh, but make sure we're cognizant of what those implications could be, and even just as importantly, understand those pre-harvest intervals of especially from a Liberty standpoint. I mean, it's 70 days before uh, on label that we can harvest that crop. So make sure you're having those conversations with your supplier as well, on what those cutoff dates are. Lastly, again, I always like to touch on what water use by growth stage is. And again, I'm not going to read this verbatim to you, but still a lot of water being uptaken by this crop, that's going to grow significantly here in the next 7 to 10 days. I think I've seen more change in the last 3 to 4 days in corn and soybeans than I have all season. I look for that to continue. We get temperatures in the 80s and 90s a little bit more consistently here. I think you're going to see that GDU map change significantly here over the next week. So as always, get out, walk those fields. Thank you for your business. Get with your local channel seed professional if you have any questions, and we look forward to seeing you next week. So thank you very much.